Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Global here. So I wanted to talk about uh, something very near and dear to me that's going on in the NBA lately. And it finally fully blown over last night when a gentleman by Carson Breber of the uh, Volume Sports, he's got about 30,000 followers on Twitter X, goes on and makes a post at 10 in the morning. Demar Derozan only needs to average 18 points a game for another 105 games to surpass Shaq in career points and enter the all time top 10 list. The last part, I find this disturbing. Now, the find this disturbing is what's putting everyone up in the uproar, putting the naysayers in the uproar, saying, and it even grabbed the attention of the actual DeMar DeRozan. He goes, disturbing, F that mean. Who the hell is you to have an opinion on somebody's career, clown? You know, um, I want to preface my statement before I even begin. When I started on Twitter X 3 years ago, uh, we were all just there for the shits and giggles, so to speak. And then things got serious when the new ownership, new regime took over, and they started to monetize everything, and it became very corporate. And so, and it's crazy because lately I've been scrolling on TikTok, and I don't follow ESPN, but what really, really finally drew me to the conclusion of this statement that it's become a corporation environment is I don't follow ESPN, but they pull up down my FYP. And when I seen their post, they keep popping up. And I notice, I'm like, wow, their content is so more engaging and relatable and just more interesting on TikTok, where you're just free to say whatever you want. And then you go on Twitter and it's stale as, expired bread. And I'm like, why don't they do this on TV? Why don't they do this on Twitter? But they do it on TikTok. TikTok, they're actually interesting and more flavorful out there, more just, colorful in there. You know what I mean? But uh, it's become a very corporate environment. And I think this is one of the downsides to social media when celebrities are now trying to be amongst the people. I think it really has created a terrible ecosystem. It's like you've already won, you got paid, stay out of the ecosystem. You are not supposed to be engaging with everyday people because now it's become very stuffy. It's become very corporate. It's become very my people, your people. It's all territorial and tribal, right? And so now you have this situation where he decides to butt into this very valid point. And let me preface my statement. As I said, I've been on Twitter X now for 3 years, but I don't really consider myself kicking it into gear and knowing what I want to do on there the last year and a half or so. And one of the things I began to do on there, they used to every once in a while, especially the 46 million follower NBA page, they started to show, when they started, they would do a graphic. But now they're starting to show video footage with the highlight. That's what I started to do, mind you. When I began, I noticed, I'm like, yo, I'm hearing the broadcast and nobody is paying attention to the fact that the broadcast is giving a lot of information. And I'm watching this thing and I'm like, yo, this guy just passed such and such for the most, this guy just broke a franchise record. He just broke an NFL record for receiving yards. This guy just broke a single season franchise record. No, when I started, it was just StatMuse and NBA University, and they were focused on the stats side of things. And then I began to celebrate the milestones by associating the video with the actual uh, 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 accomplishment. And because they'll put the video and be like, Kevin Durant with his 13th point. And it's like Kevin Durant with that 13th point was what moved him to 15th all time in scoring. You know what I mean? And so I combined the two things, and nobody was doing it for about a year, and then one day, and now I suspect those are the people who probably were flagging my page down because they wanted to get me out the way because they're ashamed that they got it from yours truly. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing this to the light is because as the person who actually celebrates milestones. It started for me, the light clicked around when LeBron broke Kareem's field goal made record. That was the beginning of the end for me, where I'm like, okay, I've heard enough of this stuff. And there's been situations randomly like Dewana Bonner, who was barely playing on one leg last year, breaking, moving to second or third all time and scoring in the W. There's little instances where it's like you shouldn't be in the league. You shouldn't even be playing. The people you're passing should not be getting passed. You know what I'm saying? And this young man really said something that really brought full circle for me, where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go and quote tweet this guy. And it was at 50K when he said it, when I seen it, I'm sorry, in the afternoon, and now it's over a million. Which is funny because it's always everyone but me. But wherever I go, they'll somehow blow that up. It was at 50, and then it went. Now somehow it's miraculously hit over a million something, right? But I was already late to the post, mind you, and somehow I'm not even at 1,000 views yet, by the way. But somehow this thing went up a million. This is the bullshit I be talking about. But uh, I'm watching it. So it's like, I want to be very clear. Not only am I not a hater, I'm the one who actually began this. Like, let's switch the narrative of all this toxic negativity, where if a player shoots below 50 cent, he had a bad game, or, this guy shot under 40% from three this game, oh, he was shot chucking or free throw merchant, whatever, because the algorithm tends to give the biggest views to the most bold statement. So people get really outlandish or just become stat sheet hunters. And so I want to preface but I'm not gonna lie. When I seen the nail in the coffin was when he passed Tim Duncan around 15th or 16th all time in scoring. I'm thinking to myself, bro, you were below 500 in your time with the Spurs. You averaged 21 and 5 and 6, which that was the best year he ever had as a distributor. And what made it remarkable was there was a mass exodus on players who shot mid range because of the Curry Warriors. They talk about the Lakers had a Mickey Mouse ring. That whole Golden Warriors run was a Mickey Mouse thing, starting with Cuban taking Andrew Bogut's contract so they could get Kevin Durant. That was the beginning. After that first year, everyone had them figured out. Then they went and got Kevin Durant and became a video game. Mind you, Andre Iguodala took half his market value to be on that team to come off the bench. So, and speaking of all-time great mid-range shooters, they also had Sean Livingston and Mo Buckets, who was a rare 6'10 stretch who could shoot mid-ranges unlimited. But I'm watching this thing and I'm like, yo, rare stretch 6'10 guy who can hit automatic middies. Like, that team was a video game, right? But to me, I'm watching this and I'm like, yeah, true indeed, it's truly remarkable. You stood the test of time. And I even made a post about that where I'm like, people don't understand. Demar Derozan is truly remarkable because the league was getting rid of not only bigs around the Warriors' time, because that's the way you beat them, but then they were people they really weren't allowed to shoot mid-range. I'm not saying this. This is coming out of Carmelo Anthony's mouth when he was on Houston, and they're telling them you can only take this many mid-range per game. Like, they're literally going to the players and saying this. And so I'm just keeping it real. There's nothing I'm not saying that's not public record. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like I'm some kind of whistleblower here, but I'm just saying. And so when I'm watching this thing and I'm watching this dude get mad at this young man, and I'm like, he said some real stuff. He said some very real things, because what do you mean you're about to be tied with Shaq? Bro, you've been playing irrelevant ball most of your career. LeBron owns you guys in Toronto to the point, as soon as you left, they won a ring with Kawhi. There's levels to this. And so this goes back to the Bam Adebayo thing with the 83-point game. It's like, yeah, you went for 83, but all 83s aren't created equal. People don't come out and guard you and put you on the game plan. And it tainted the record books. And this is why Spo, who got a $100 million deal, destroying the league's reputation, I guess, because they're mad about tanking, so let's go punish the Wizards. But in the grand scheme of things, you cut your nose to spite your face. And this is what I'm talking about, man. There's a lot of just questionable decisions in the NBA community, and just a lot of bad energy and vibes in there over there, man. It's just weird. Even the content creation, the massive plagiarism that's going on, the fake insiders. This is how you don't see these problems in baseball. You don't see people saying, "Hey, you stole my tweet." You don't see that in the NFL. But for some reason, you see this stuff in basketball, and it's like they really got to drain the swamp, bro. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of weird decisions being made and things that are going on that app, especially over there in that community. That's just crazy to me. And for a player to respond to a young guy trying to come up, and people are really sitting here telling him, you could only hope that you could be 10th all time in your profession, bro. Less to do with it's less to do with DeRozan. Eliminate the guy we're talking about. He's making a bigger point to the integrity of the game. I'm trying to remember what former play. I think Derek Favors was on the record when Bam broke the 83. He's like, "You just opened the can of worms. I don't think you even realized." And so when you're watching what's going on, when you watch what's unfolding with respect to this league, and watching him go out there, and it's like, bro, guys are just not like, this is how economies crash. This is how dollar loses its value. Guys are just like, well, you know, it's still impressive. It's like, yeah, but think of how much meaningless basketball he's been playing. Think about, like, even on the Kings, like, they're not going anywhere. Their season has been done. He should have been shut down. Like, the way it traditionally used to work, a player of that caliber who's been around that long is supposed to be on the second unit of a contender playing for a championship. Not not this still going 30 minutes a game. And mind you, remind you that people forget Mike Brown got fired from Sacramento because he wanted to move DeRozan to the second unit because he was a ball stopping, half court, post up, post up. It's like, bro, go do that on the second unit. We got to keep the flow going here. So it's just, to me, it's like when people say money is money and we got to squeeze every dollar. First of all, dollars only have as much value as you get if people give it. And if you're sitting here squeezing every penny out of it, you're squeezing everything is being based. You got to make it. You understand the lopsidedness of this thing and what's going on. And so when I'm watching this thing unravel, it's like, man, I stand with young bull over there who started off talking about, yo, dog, it's the same with Bam and same with DeRozan. Every night somebody's breaking a record. Braden Smith, all-time assist leader in NCAA. Kevin Durant passing and Braden's, to me, that's a little bit more okay because college basketball, they still play defense and all that, even though it's become very commercial. But Kevin Durant passing Michael Jordan. Well, when you factor in Brooklyn, when you factor in Chicago, Brooklyn, when you factor in Phoenix, all the down years of irrelevancy, when your team hopping, do you still reach those accolades if you're on the same team? If you're on the same team all your life? No, because guess what? Teams can game plan you. You got years of downtime. Those things speed up your career in dog years when you're waiting for the right pieces around you and all that. You didn't have to do all that. You just picked up and left when the going got tough. Now you're in Houston. Really can't even tell the difference between Phoenix and Houston at this point. They both conduct themselves at different points in the season. Like Phoenix is going to be in the play-in, but guess what? Houston's chemistry makes them look like they're a play-in team. And so when you look at that and you combine it and you got Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, and breaking down, Jordan was all his career was just about going up this way towards a ring and then maintaining that excellence, hopping from Brooklyn, hopping from Phoenix, even like Michael Beasley on the record. Let's talk about the great one. When we were in Miami, I had to go because I was messing up Bron's numbers. Like, okay, if Bron stays in Cleveland, all of a sudden, look what that small window did to him running with Dwayne Wade. I'll never forget that graphic. It was like he's played 13 games total in 35 nights. Combined total. So LeBron had to overwork himself. That's when he lost a lot of weight. And some say it's because of other reasons. I'll say, look, if he stayed in Cleveland, does he break all these records? He's about to move to third all time in assists. Does he? No. Let's keep it real. You're probably going to be injured. You know what I'm saying? Having to play through rebuilds, having to play through. These are the things that we got to talk about here. And so to attack this young man, and I guess all publicity is good publicity, not to me, but, I guess in the grand scheme of content creation, Hollywood, that age-old myth, all attention's good attention, but it's like that response. I mean, how are you supposed to respond? Maybe not at all. The lashing out, it's kind of an indictment, don't you think? Like you kind of know what there was some truth, because why would you respond to it? You know, and I get it. Sometimes you got to defend your honor, but it's like, bro, Shaq did that in a small window. Orlando and Los Angeles. That's it. Everything else after that was irrelevant. You know what I mean? Durability issues became conditioning became a question. That's not the same. It's not all created the same. Let's not lying to ourselves here. I'm gonna stop right there, utopians. I hope it's not misconstrued as me hating again. I told you, I started this whole milestone celebrating thing of people's accomplishments, you know, and then that became, it got taken away by a whole bunch of bigger pages, and me, I had to stop because I'm like, hold on. First of all, I don't agree with where this thing is going, but also I don't want nobody, obviously the larger page following, now it looks like I'm copying them. I take this content creation thing so serious. When I talk about authenticity, I grew up in an era in music where you had to you had to use your own pen. I don't play about that. And authenticators in that's why I don't take a lot of these content creator programs here, because if you don't have a mechanism to determine original work product, you don't have nothing. You're just out here basically using the real creators ghostwrite for the others. You know what I mean? But when do the ghostwriters get their just due? You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of guys faking the fun. And quite honestly, I have on my Twitter account, I have program directors who've engaged my tweets. I have Olympic Committee members that have engaged my tweets. So I know big wigs have seen. I've said things on this channel that were very sophisticated and new. I don't say ordinary shit, and I see it repeated. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm just making it very clear, like, I'm just being authentic when I say these are real questions that need to be raised. And there's no hatred, there's no jealousy, there's no, oh, back in my day going on over here. I'm not doing none of that stuff. I'm just keeping it real. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? You know what I mean? Derozan's career, truly remarkable. Survived the whole Warriors era when there was all these three-pointers being shot. The mid-range shooter stayed true to himself, constantly managed to stick around. But honestly, what are we actually talking about? And this is a guy who was originally being compared to Vince Carter back in the day. His draft comp at USC. You know what I mean? So it's not like I didn't know bro was going to be nice. I shown people so many times. NBA Draft.net had him featured as the next Vince Carter. And then he got drafted to Toronto. And I always remembered that. But I'm just saying, like, you know, let's be for real. Young boy didn't say anything wrong. He was right. He was right on the point. What is going on with this league, especially where there's no hand checking? This is an indictment. And I just mentioned in my last video, you got guys coming up from the G dropping 30, guys getting triple double. Warford from the Sixers had a triple double and did none since that contract extension. But like, you know what I mean? Any given night, guys are just popping up putting said, this is a detriment to the league. What happened to commissioners calling in and saying, hey, knock that down, knock that down. We don't need that. We don't need that for the look. There's a serious state of an emergency going on right now, and it needs to be nipped in the butt, honestly. This is not cool at all. We don't want to see that stuff, bro. Because it's not, you know what I mean? Like, what are y'all trying to do? You're telling on yourself. You're basically speaking on the quality of the league and what it's done. A 41-year-old last night watching LeBron was dominating the Warriors. How are you a young bull getting dominated like that? It's crazy. I'll try to do better next time, Utopians Global.